Hey guys, it's Brittany back here with another video yet again after a long time, but we won't get into that. Today I'm here to talk about, as you can tell from the title, 5 things I wish I had known before I became a server. Because I ran into some bumps in the road that were like, and I wish somebody had told me. So my first thing is, if you're like me and you had like a lot of server friends before you became a server, and one of the things that like pushed you to want to be a server was them talking about how much they made, you might be disappointed at first. And that's just the best way that I can put it. A lot of my server friends were telling me about how they made, $300 a night, $1,000 a week, something along those lines, where it was like a large lump sum of money, and you were like, why am I working a 9 to 5 for minimum wage? Or maybe you're younger and you're working at a fast food place and you're like, I could waitress, like, come on now, bring out some drinks, bring out the food, boom bada bing, you're gonna be disappointed at first, for the simple fact that things like that and those amounts of money are gonna come with experience. So when you first start out at a restaurant, you're not gonna know the menu, you're not gonna know the flow of things. You might not be that good if it's your first time waitressing, or maybe you are that good but you're still just not familiar with the menu. And if you have like a digital ring-in system, sometimes those can be tricky. And so things of that nature, as you become more comfortable with them, are gonna help you be better and therefore increase your tips. So a lot of people that brag about how much they make that you might hear and think, ooh, I should waitress, might be veterans at their establishment and might be just super comfortable with the system that they use and waitressing in general, I guess. And so it's something that you might want to consider, is that like when you first start out, you might not be making $300 or maybe like $150 a night. You might not be making that. You might be coming home with, maybe $50, $40, and you need to make sure that you're gonna be okay with that. Not just like, oh, I only made $50 this night, but like you're gonna still be able to pay your bills on time, okay with that. And so making those larger amounts of money is just going to come with experience. And I say that because you'll be more comfortable. But I also say that because there are going to be sections, in my experience, where the turnover rate and the turnover rate is what I'm trying to say. The turnover rate is going to be higher, or, it just might be considered a better sitting section, a section that's more highly requested. Say it's a section of all booths. Lots of people like to come into restaurants and sit at booths. So if it's a full booth section, that section's gonna get sat a lot. And so with you being better at your job as a waitress, your employer's gonna see that. They're gonna schedule you to be in that section more often, where you have the chance to make more money. When you get in there though, it is up to you to be the best waitress possible, so that you may, I don't know what the word to use, so that you may encourage your guests to tip you a larger amount of money. So that leads me into my second thing, is when you're a waitress and you're training, I don't know about in every establishment, but in the last 2 establishments that I've waitressed at, I was trained by multiple different people through my training week. And so I got to see a lot of different people and how they waitress or waiter, if you follow a male. And so server style is something big. Some people are really good about going to each table that they have, doom, 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 and knowing everything that everybody needs, and then going back and bringing it all back. Me personally, I cannot do that. My personal service style is I can go to one table individually, get them what they need in the next. And in the long run, that might take longer to do. It might make, some of my tables wait a little bit longer, but I find that I'm a server who likes to have conversations with my table. So I like to be like, hey, like, what are we celebrating today? I see the family's out, or if I see, a kid with a shirt. Parents love when you interact with their kids as well, you know what I mean? Because their kid is sitting at the table. So, it's like, hey, buddy, like, what can I get you to drink? Or, I love that shirt. My cousin watches Paw Patrol, or just something simple. Parents love that, and it makes it so that it's more of a hands-on experience, if you get my drift. And so your server style is important. Don't come into a restaurant, train with somebody, whether you train with multiple people or the same person the whole week. Don't try to copy somebody else's service style, because what works for them might turn around and backfire for you when you're a waitress. Because like I said, I tried that pinball method. That's what I call it. I tried that pinball method and it did not work for me. I find myself forgetting what a table wanted and having to go back and be like, hey, did you need Diet Coke or Coke? Or hey, did you need, steak sauce or ranch or anything like that? And then they're like, yeah, we told you that we needed ranch. And it's like, okay. Like, you have to take things like that into consideration. Just do what works best for you. So, leading off of my first topic, which was you need experience to make the big bucks. Whether or not you're making the big bucks, my tip number 3 is, if you're going to be a waitress, you need to know how to budget. And that's just something that I honestly feel is important. As a waitress in Arkansas at the establishment that I'm working at, my minimum wage is $2.65 an hour. So if I'm not making good tips, on my paycheck will be, like that amount of money. And so that's not a lot. That's not enough to live off of, even in the state of Arkansas, where cost of living is not nearly as much as California or, Texas or someplace like that. It's not a lot. So you need to know how to budget. You can be, let's say for instance, you're, a veteran server now, or just say that you're comfortable in your serving environment and you feel confident in what you can, bring to your customers. Whether you're like that or not, there are going to be days where you're not going to make $100. There are going to be days where you don't make $300. There's going to be days where you might go home with $30 from a morning shift and you're like, dang, that's low. Or, come home from a night shift and you only made $70. And you need to make sure that no matter what amount of money you bring home on any given day of the week, you're going to be okay at the end of the month or just whenever your bills are due. I know plenty of waitresses who will be like, hey, I need to pick up some shifts. My water bill's coming. And it's like, okay, I can't give up my shift because I have my own bills coming. You know what I mean? Like, there are going to be times where you're not going to come home with as much money each night as you think you are. And so you need to be prepared to budget. You need to be prepared to save. You need to be prepared to give up some of the luxuries that you like in life. So like me, myself personally, I used to go get my nails done and filled every week when I worked at my old job. But being a waitress, sometimes I need to wait and I need to be like, okay, I've made, a lower amount this week than what I prepared for my usual. So I need to see what I make next week before I can get this fill. And I have to go without. Or maybe you're like, okay, I need to put $30 towards gas and I only have $10 for groceries this week. You need to be prepared to budget. You need to be prepared to compensate and just move things around. You need to be flexible with your money. And budgeting is one way that even if you have strict bills, you can still be flexible. My fourth thing is, when you become a waitress or work any kind of food or retail even, too, people are mean and you will learn that firsthand. There are people that will be mean to you in the sense of like just talking to you degradingly because you're their waitress, and so they're like, yeah, I need a Diet Coke. No. And you're like, yes, ma'am. And all you can do is bite your tongue and go along with it. And there are people who will be mean to you in the sense of just not thinking of you as a lower grade than them because you're their waitress. And it's a really crappy thing to encounter, and I will admit I don't encounter it often, but when you do encounter it, you're like taken aback. You're like, oh, okay. And it's like they've just kind of got like their nose in the air, this kind of like snobby attitude towards you, and you're just like, I'm sorry, like, what? But you will learn that people are mean and people are judgy, and so they'll be like, how old are you? And you're like, oh, I'm whatever age you are. And they're like, and you work here? And it's like, this is a really good job for me. It's flexible with the time I have now, but people will be judgy about where you work and like even ask you personal questions such as, why do you work here still at your age or whatever age you are, you know what I mean? So you just need to prepare to handle that. And so that leads me into my fifth tip. My fifth tip is, people can come in and be rude and nasty and demanding, and you have to bite your tongue and be the best waitress that they can have. Because at the end of the day, tips aren't mandatory. Unless you're serving like a 30 top where you get gratuity tips like factored into their bills, what they choose to tip you, sorry, almost died, the camera almost died, what they choose to tip you is what you will be going home with that night. So you need to be just the best waitress you can be, because tips aren't mandatory, and sometimes people will not leave you tips. It's getting stiffed is part of the game. Sometimes you'll have tables and they're amazing tippers, and sometimes you'll have tables and, you know, maybe they don't have a lot, or maybe they weren't prepared, or maybe their bill was more than they expected, or maybe they just didn't think you were a good waitress and didn't want to tip you that much. But what people tip you is what you go home with. And so you just really need to make sure that you're being a good waitress. And honestly, as a waitress, when people come in and they are nasty and mean and demanding of me, being the best waitress that I can be and making sure that they have a great experience at my establishment brings me so much joy. Because it's like, what can they go home and complain about? You know what I mean? Like, their drinks were always filled. I brought their food out on time. Their appetizers were hot. I smiled. I was, you know, giving out to-go boxes and to-go drinks. And like, you know, to my knowledge, their experience was great. Maybe their experience wasn't, but you did everything you could to make sure that their experience was. And that's a great, wholesome feeling that you get to have, even if a table's not nice to you. Alright guys, so that's gonna be the end of the video for today. I apologize if this video seemed a little bit thrown together. Honestly, I just got off work and I was like, yeah, let me film. You know, I haven't filmed in a while, and I just threw this concept together and thought maybe it'd be kind of cool. Maybe somebody would want to see it. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Leave me comments down below of things that you wish you had known before you became a server, or if you're thinking about becoming a server, definitely leave me questions down below. I mean, I'd be more than happy to answer those, so just let me know. If you guys want to see a video on maybe 3 tips of how to be the best server you can be that I've learned in my experience of being a server, definitely, you know, like this video or comment or let me know so that I can film that for you guys, because I'd be more than happy to do that. But that's gonna be all for today, so till next time, check you later.